Hi guys, good evening everyone. Welcome to day one of Microsoft Azure. So, as we have started with the introduction session yesterday, now today we are going to learn a little bit more about Microsoft Azure. Today we are going to understand how we can create the web servers, like we will also understand the Windows servers and the Linux web servers. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start. But before moving ahead, what I want you to understand is about the deployments. Like if we deploy the virtual machines in our local environment, and if we deploy the virtual machines in our cloud environment. So let me just open a very popular tool known as Microsoft Paint. So let me just actually divide the screen into parts, right? And I'm going to basically make you understand the types of deployments. Okay. All right. So on the left hand side, I'm going to actually talk about something known as local deployment. And on the right hand side, I'm going to talk about the cloud deployment. Okay. So there are two types of deployment. One is the local and other one is the cloud deployment. Now, in our local environment, just try to understand this concept. First of all, we need to buy a physical server. So I have to pay for this physical server. Now on this physical server, I can deploy as many virtual machines as I want, depending upon, the type of hardware I'm having. So I have deployed one virtual machine, then the other virtual machine. Okay, so these two are the virtual machines, right? So now I have purchased, first of all, this physical server. Just suppose like this server cost me around 2 lakh rupees. I have deployed two virtual machines on top of it. So I have paid 2 lakh rupees. Okay. Now I have to basically pay for the networking. I'll buy an internet connection. So maybe if my server is a web server, definitely I'll buy a lease line connection, which will cost me so much. After this, I have to pay for the electricity. I have to, put the air conditioners so that they can make my server cool. When the processor or the CPU runs, it tries to, run more and more, and it try to, make the server or the machine really hot. So in order to keep them cool, we need to put on the air conditioners. So above all, I have to pay for the server, I have to pay for the electricity, I have to pay for the networking, and a little more, right? I have to do the maintenance of the server as well, right? Now, just suppose, if I later on in my, in future, if I just, suppose like, okay, I do not want this virtual machine, so I delete this virtual machine, right? But again, if I delete this virtual machine, then why I actually paid for this much of hardware, right? Why I paid for the big hardware? Now, according to this scenario, this physical hardware is totally waste of money. I paid 2 lakh rupees just to run one virtual machine. No, that's bad. So I actually wasted my money. Now, let me just take the same example for the cloud deployment. In this cloud deployment, I will deploy the virtual machines and I do not have to pay for this physical server. I do not have to maintain this physical server. I just, have to pay for the virtual machines which I'm going to create. So it will offer me a package. It will offer me the internet, the bandwidth. It will offer me the service, and it will offer me this virtual machine. So I'll just have to pay for the virtual machine. Okay, I do not have to pay for the physical hardware over there. Now in future, if I just say I do not need this virtual machine, so I can cancel this out and I can save some cost on it. Because if I canceled my virtual machine, if I deleted my virtual machine, then I do not have to pay for anything, right? So that is why the cloud deployment is much better than the local deployment. You don't have to worry about anything. Just deploy the virtual machine and you just have to pay for the resources you are using. That's it. So if you cancel out any resources, if you are on the pay as you go model, then you don't have to pay for the resource which you deleted, right? So after deletion, it will just charge you for the active resources. That's it. So this is how the cloud deployment is beneficial. So that is why, in order to basically deploy, virtual machine on cloud, let's go ahead and open our Azure portal. So here I have my Azure portal available. Now I'm going to create a Windows web server and a Linux web server that will be publicly available. And yes, you can also access that. Let's go ahead and let's create one Windows web server first. So first of all, I'm gonna go on to the virtual machines. Let me just create a new virtual machine. So I'm gonna just name it as Windows web server. So right now, I actually performed a lot of practicals. So I do have some virtual machines already existing over here. I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna actually create a new virtual machine. Now you can create your own resource group. Now, one thing to note, everything you create on Azure will be counted as a resource. If you create a public IP address, that is a resource. If you create a hard disk, that is a resource. If you create a virtual machine, even that is also a resource. So we have to collect all the resources and we have to put that into a group. Now that group is known as resource group. It actually becomes very easy for us if we just need to find any resource later on in future, then we can just go to that particular group and we can find the desired resource. Otherwise, the resources will be scattered all away and it will be very much difficult to find a particular resource. That is why we collect all the resources and we put that into a group. So I'm just going to create a new group, demo Azure. Now this is the name of the group. Now the virtual machine which I'm going to create will be a part of this group. If I just click on OK, let me just give a virtual machine a name. So this will be demo VM web server. You just give any name. This is just for the demonstration purpose. So I can just also write it like Windows web server, right? So I can select any region. I'm going to select East US 2. I'll select this particular image only, that is Windows Server 2019. Now this is the configuration which we already discussed in the yesterday's lecture. I'm just gonna type admin123 as my username and I will not reveal my password. I'll just scroll down, okay? And you can see that in our firewall, only one port is open, that is the remote desktop port. So let me just go and click on review and create. And let me just finally click on create in order to create my machine. Right? So it will cost me around 13.5 rupees per hour. That's fine. I can just click on create. I have so much of credit left with me, so I can spend this credit as much as I want. Okay, so this is a good thing, right? We can spend the money over here. We can spend the cost over here. All right. So this will actually create my Windows virtual machine. It will create my Windows Server 2019. And I just have to go onto that server. I have to install the role of the web server. And then you and me are going to access that publicly available web server. I'm going to give you the IP address. You can just put that IP address on your browser. And there you go. You will be able to access my web server. So let's wait for a couple of seconds so that this virtual machine can be created. Okay. And later on, we will jump onto this virtual machine and connect with this virtual machine, right? Yes, you can actually, create multiple hard disk and all that, right? So my machine is ready. I can just go on to my resource simply. And here, I just need to connect with my virtual machine as we did yesterday. So here we go. I'll connect with the RDP, that is remote desktop protocol. I'll download the RDP file. I'll just save it and I will open this file. Now this is my public IP, but I don't have to basically put my public IP. I can straight away connect with this file. I'll say connect. I'll put my username and the password. And I'll say yes to the computer certificates. And there you go. I'm going to log in inside my virtual machine. Now this is Windows Server, and I'm actually pretending that you have a little knowledge about the Windows Server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the role of Windows Web Server on this particular server machine. Okay, so let's go ahead and install this. Mr. Naveen, you actually got the right question. So don't worry, I'll be answering that in a minute. Okay. I'm going to tell you that as well. Don't worry. Okay, so there are a lot of questions regarding the security. I'm going to actually tell you how you can make your virtual machines more secure. But before that, let me just go and click on Add Roles and Features. I'm going to click on Next. And here I have this role Web Server. I'm going to check this up. I'm going to say Add Features. Now click on Next. Keep on clicking Next. And finally, you have to click on Install. So this will actually install my web server. Let me just answer a few questions that you guys are asking. Now, one question is that we do have an option of size over here. What is the size? So if I'm not satisfied with the size of my virtual machine, maybe like I have, created a virtual machine with 4 gigs of RAM, with 4 GB of RAM, right? So if later on I feel, okay, I just need to, increase the RAM or I need to decrease the RAM, anything you want, just go on size. Okay, and just select your desired size from here. Okay, let it load. See, we have the different sizes of the virtual machines available. Just click on anything and click on resize. It will resize your virtual machine. So anytime you can upgrade or downgrade your virtual machine. Okay, now let me just go back onto my virtual machine, and as we can see, the process has reached 64%. That is very good, right? So let it, like complete, and we are going to access the web server. Yep, everything we have in our curriculum, like the continuous delivery, and all, everything we have. So the setup is complete. I'll just click on close, and we are, now allowed to execute the web server. Let's see whether we can access the web server or not. What I'll do, I'll just actually go on to the overview section of my Windows web server. I'll just copy this. I will actually open the private window of my browser, and I'm going to basically paste the public IP over there. So I'm just going to paste public IP. If I hit enter, then you can see that I'm not able to access my web server. Now, what could be the reason? The reason is very simple, that I didn't open the HTTP port. I told you while creating the virtual machine that only RDP port, that is 3389 port, is open. So you can see the web server is not reachable. I have to open the port number 80 first of all. So how can we open the port number 80 for any virtual machine? It's very simple, guys. Either you can open it at the time of creation of the virtual machine, or if I just minimize this, you can go on to the networking section of your particular virtual machine. Click on the networking section. Now you have to add something known as inbound port rule. So you have a network security group which acts as a firewall. So you have to basically add the inbound port rule so that the traffic which is coming inside your virtual machines on port number 80, that should be allowed. So if I just click on add inbound port rule, as of now, I'm not going into depth, right? So I'm not going to select source, destination, everything, let it be any. I just need to mention the port number which I want to open. So I just want to open port number 80. I will just actually name this particular entry as port number 80. Now this is just the name of the rule. So you can just give your name, my name, any name to this particular rule. I'll just say add. So this is going to add the inbound port rule for port number 80. Once the port number 80 is available, then you, me, anyone can, basically access this web server. As you can see, the rule is created and the entry is available and visible over here. I'll just go back on my private window. Let me just hit enter. Just wait for some time, it take a couple of seconds to implement, and there you go. The web server is available. So go ahead and try out this IP address on your web browser. I'm just gonna paste this IP in the Zoom chat. So if you guys are available on your computers, please go ahead and enter this public IP on your computer and let me know if you can see this particular web page. Okay, Mukesh says yes. That's great. Okay, people are saying yes. That means they are able to access this web page publicly. So, did you just see how easy it is to create a web server? How much time it took? I guess 5 to 10 minutes. That's it in order to deploy the web server, right? So, it's very easy, guys. You just need to follow the instructions. You just need to know the concept. You just need to know each entry, what we are doing on our portal, and you'll be good to go. I have another question. So, is MCSA required for Microsoft Azure? Yes, it is required, not completely, but partially. Okay. But if you learn MCSA completely, then that would be much better. But if you know MCSA partially, even then it will be good. Okay, so all of you, I got the reply from almost all of you guys who actually joined me on Zoom, like they are able to access this page. So how simple it was to actually create a web server, a Windows web server, I should say. Now, the same way I'm going to use to create, the Linux web server. Now, everyone is scared of Linux. Oh my God, we have to, keep on, typing the commands and all that. Don't worry. Okay. It's very simple to deploy a Linux web server. Okay. Let me just answer a few questions like they have, is there any concept of DC? Well, definitely we will actually understand the domain controller section, but later on, not at this time, right? Definitely, I'll answer, I'll explain all these questions, but it needs time, okay? So definitely the curriculum has these topics which you are asking me, and I'm going to complete that practically. Okay, now let me just actually close this and let me create a Linux virtual machine. It is very simple. So just go on to the menu and click on virtual machines. Now you can easily add a new virtual machine. Now this time it is going to be the Linux virtual machine, and you might be surprised like how we can connect to the Linux virtual machine. I'm going to tell you like, yes, you can use the SSH port. In the Windows, we have the remote desktop protocol, RDP port, which is 3389. Now for the Linux virtual machine, we are going to use the SSH port, secure shell. Okay, let me just actually tell you. Now I already have a resource group in place. I'm going to select that demo Azure group. Now I'm going to just enter the name of the virtual machine, Linux web server. Okay, I'm going to place it in the same region, and the image which I'm going to select will be Ubuntu server. Now please note one thing, the servers or the Linux machines which you are actually creating in your Azure is totally command based. You're not going to get the graphical interface of Ubuntu machine because this is the Ubuntu server. So I'm just going to select this and let me just scroll down. I'm going to use the same hardware structure, but if you just want to reduce the structure, you can do that. Now, the authentication type can be used, like you can just use the SSH public key. Let me just make it very simple. You can just click on password in order to enter the username and password. So this is the most easiest way to connect to the virtual machine, the Linux virtual machine. I'll just type admin123 and put the password over here. Right? Now, see, the allowed ports are SSH only. So we are only able to connect with our virtual machine through this SSH port. Now, I told you, you can, add the inbound port rule later on, but you can also add that port number 80 while you are creating your virtual machine. So if I just actually open this, we have the port number 80 I'll just check this up. So now when my virtual machine will be created, that port number 80 will automatically be added onto the inbound port rule. Now let me just click on review and create. And it is the Linux virtual machine, so the cost will be little less. Okay, no matter we have the same hardware structure, but if we talk about the operating system, then the cost will be less. See, for the Windows virtual machine, it was 13.5 rupees, but for this, we have 6.9, almost 7 rupees. So let me just actually click on create to create the Linux virtual machine. Okay. Okay. So YouTube people are also actually accessing this. Amazing, right? Cool. So now the Linux virtual machine is getting deployed, and I'm just going to use 2 or 3 commands and you will be able to access your virtual machine. Now, in order to actually connect to your Linux virtual machine, you can actually download a software known as Putty. So you can just go onto your browser and type download Putty. Simple. Now, this is a free software that you can use to make the SSH connections. Okay, so just go and download Putty. Now the software is maybe like of 3 or 4 MB. That's it. So just download. This is a free SSH client. You can just click over here and you can just download the Putty. Okay. I'm going to close this. I already have that installed. Let me just go and click on go to the resource. Now here we have our Linux machine. Now we cannot actually click on connect and RDP. No, we cannot do that. We have used the technique of the admin and the password. So we need to use a third-party software. I'm going to actually go ahead and click on start and use Putty software. Now here we have the Putty software. You just need to enter the public IP over here. So this is my public IP. I'll copy this and I'll paste the public IP over here. Now let me click on open. Let me say yes. And see, it is asking me the login name. I'm going to type admin123. It is asking me the password. And there you go. I am connected to my Linux virtual machine. So this is going to be the command-based machine, right? Now, let me just tell you how you can install a web server on this. So I will just run 2 or 3 commands and the web server will be ready. And the commands are so simple, guys. Let me just first of all update the libraries of my virtual machine. So in order to update your Linux, you just need to write sudo apt get update. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter and it is going to update my Linux in a couple of seconds. And it's done, right? Now, we have various types of web servers available. We have Apache web server, we have Nginx web server. So in today's practical, I'm going to install Nginx web server. Now, for the Windows, we have Internet Information Services. Okay. Now for the Linux, we have Nginx. So I'm going to install Nginx. I'm going to type sudo apt get install Nginx. Okay, and I will use -y flag. Now what it will do when I press enter, if I don't use -y, it is going to prompt me, are you sure you want to install this? If I say yes, that's fine. But if I just put the -y flag in the installation command itself, it is not going to prompt me because I have by default mentioned that I will say yes to the prompt. If I say enter, then see, it has started the installation and everything is good to go. And by the time it is installing, let me just go on to the networking section to show you that the port number 80 is available, right? So in the networking section, now we are not going to add any inbound port rule because we have already enabled the port, okay, by the time of installation. So see, we have the HTTP port 80 available and that is allowed. Perfect. Now just go on to the Linux virtual machine. It is still installing your web server. It will not take much time. All right. Will take a couple of seconds. And there you go. Your web server is on. Let's go ahead and try it. So I'm going to just minimize this. I'm going to go onto the overview section. I'm going to copy my public IP for the Linux web server. I'm going to open a private window. Now I'm going to paste the IP address, hit enter, and there you go. You have the Nginx web server, which is based on Linux virtual machine. Go ahead and try it out on your web browser and let me know if you are able to, perform this action. Okay, perfect. You are very quick. So the IP is, yeah, I can also paste it over here. Okay, Asim says yes. This is the IP, guys. You can actually, use it and put it in your browser and let me know if you are able to access this. Perfect. Amazing, right? So it's very good. Like, see, I just created two web servers. One is the Windows and other is the Linux. And just, in 5 to 10 minutes. That's great if you can access it, right? So this is the power of the cloud computing platforms. So if I talk about Azure, you yourself have seen that, like how easy it is to deploy the things over here. We don't have to, wait for so much of time. Like there are some resources which actually takes time, but everything is being managed by Azure itself. You don't have to go onto your machine, just shut down your machine and still your web server is going to run live. Okay, so depending upon you, like what type of web server or what configuration you are actually putting in, you can create your own web server that easy. Now, one thing you guys asked me that about the resizing of the virtual machine, let me just show you that as well. So right now you can just see, if I just talk about my Windows virtual machine, let me just go on to the virtual machines, and let me just click on Windows web server. Now just see this. I do have a virtual machine that contains two virtual CPU and 8 gigs of RAM. If I want to resize it, I just need to go on to the size option. Okay, and I will actually select a size. Maybe I just select this size, which has one CPU and 3.5 gigs of RAM. I'll just click on resize. Now it will start resizing my virtual machine. It will, turn off my virtual machine. It will deallocate my virtual machine, and it will again, put the configurations, and my operating system is not going to hamper. The data which is available in my virtual machine is not going to disappear. The data will be available over there only. It is just the configuration of the machine what we are changing. All right, cool. So this is how you can create the web servers in your Microsoft Azure portal. So I hope like some of you guys have already, created the free account on the Azure portal, and you might have also started practicing. So the people who actually started practicing, for those people, I just need to tell something. Now, whenever you are done with your practice, if you just want to save some cost, just delete the resource group which you have created. Just delete all the resources. And now you can see the size of the virtual machine is already resized. I can just click on overview, and now you can see my Windows virtual machine. Let me just actually click on refresh. And now the machine size is with one virtual CPU and 3.5 gigs of RAM. So you can resize your machine anytime you want. Okay, and you have to pay for the current configuration only. So if you have, like if you have, decreased your size, then definitely you will be paying less. But if you have increased your virtual machine size, then you have to pay more. Okay, and it will be always pay as you go. Okay, it will be like, you are just paying of like how much you are using. That's it. All right. Now, if you're done with your practice, just close all these machines, the consoles, right? Just go on to the resource groups after you are done with the practice. Now, open the resource group which you created. So I created this one, Demo Azure. I'll just click on this group. I will just delete the resource group. Now see, this particular resource group is having so many resources available over here, right? So you can see we have the virtual network and all stuff over here. We are going to talk about this later on. But if I just want to delete all of these just in one shot, I can just click on delete resource group. I can just copy this and I can just paste this over here and click on delete. Now it will start, deleting your resource group. You can just check in the notifications, but it doesn't mean you have to wait on this particular screen only. You can just close everything, shut down your laptop and go away. This will actually, you have actually triggered the command. So it will be, executed, or it will be taken care automatically. Okay. No, the data will be still available over there. You are not going to lose any data, right? Okay. So if you want to just, delete the resources, then you can just go ahead. Now, with this, you will actually save a lot of cost, because while practicing, if you'll just leave your virtual machine turned on, then overnight it will actually, take the money out of your credits, your free credits. So I don't want you to finish your free credits before you actually finish this course, right? So that is why I'm telling you, if you are done with the practicing, then go ahead and delete the resources. All right. So that was it for today, guys. All right. And if you are basically liking this course, then please go ahead and contact Networkings. And definitely, we are going to learn a lot of things. So we are going to follow what Microsoft is asking. So I'm just going to actually tell you, if I just talk about AZ-104 certification. So whatsoever syllabus Microsoft has defined, we are going to finish that off, right? So let me just actually go on to AZ-104. Now this is the exam. I'll just click on this and see this is the exam, right? So you can actually, if you just want to see the details, you can just click on see details. It will actually take you to the PDF file where the syllabus or the curriculum is mentioned. So you can just download the curriculum right from here. And this certification is not costly. So you can also give the certification in these days for $15 only. That's it. I guess it will be like 1100 or 1200 rupees. That's it. So certifications are actually running on discount. So if you want to, go ahead and learn from me, and after that, if you just want to give the certification exam, so $15 is not a big amount. You can easily go ahead and, appear for the examination, and you will definitely, clear the examination with flying colors. Okay. This video will be uploaded by tonight, so you can just find this video on YouTube and on the Networkings application as well. So we have a video portal. The people who are enrolled with us, they know about the video portal. So all the videos which I'm actually, telling you or teaching you, right? So those will be recorded and will be given back to you so that you can revise that anytime you want. So you can revise the video like on the computer or maybe on your mobile. So you have the access both ways. All right. So if you like this, course, if you like the way I'm actually teaching, so please go ahead and join this course. You can always contact Networkings. So you can just, if we can just go on nwkings.com. We have the discussion page itself right on the course. Like you will see the discussion page in the portal only. So there we can actually discuss all the things, So here we have the Networkings, portal. So here you can actually click on contact us, and you can basically ask us for any career guidance, or if you just need to know about the fees of this course and any other thing, you can just actually put your queries over here, or you can WhatsApp us, and you can always call us. There is a toll-free number. You can just call us. If you just like to, chat with us, you can just WhatsApp us to anything you want. All right. So I hope you like this video, and I'll come back with the day 2 of Microsoft Azure on next Saturday. All right. So I'll see you at that time. Till then, just take care of yourself and keep practicing, because we are going to learn a lot more. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.